Hi there, I'm Jen, this is Remembered Reads, and this is going to be the Fab Four Book Tag. I was tagged by the Codex Cantina, and this tag was created by Tom from LA Books. I will link to both of their videos below, and look, I have a prop. Do I need to say that this is a Beatles-themed tag? I don't think I do. Question number 1. I just fell out of bed, found out what key I had dreamt it in, and I played it, said Paul McCartney about writing yesterday, when all his troubles seemed so far away. A book that you dreamt about or that inspired your dreams. I have never dreamt about a book. I very rarely dream about any kind of media. The closest I've come a couple of times when I've been playing or spending too much time playing, like role-playing type video games. The dream was not related to the game, but in my dream I saw the status bar, like that appears in combat scenes over people's heads. Then I knew I had been playing too much Dragon Age Origins. January 2010. Anyway, so that has happened, but I haven't dreamt about any books. Number 2, Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. A book that talks about drugs or that was written under the influence of drugs. I feel like I have to say Trainspotting. I have a copy of that in storage somewhere, so I cannot hold it up. Interesting use of dialect there. That's one of those books where the book and the movie have completely merged in my memory, so I no longer remember what was in the book and what was in the movie. They're just... Number 3, a quote from Ringo Starr. We thought we'd be really big in Liverpool. A book about someone who had far more success than they expected, or a book that was much more successful than what the author expected. Well, you know what was much more successful than anybody expected was The Sentimentalists by, I don't remember the author's name, I'll hopefully insert it here. That one, it came out of a really small press. It's a Canadian book about, I don't know, a US draft dodger from the 60s who moved up. Anyway, very short, but it won the Giller. And so the Giller Prize winners always end up in the big box stores and everything. And because it was out of this small press, they hadn't published enough of them. So it was very hard to come by for a while. And then eventually it was everywhere in the big box stores. So that book, I read that and I remember virtually nothing about it. I think I still have a copy somewhere, again, in storage. Number 4, sitting on a cornflake, waiting for the van to come. Cuckoo, cuckoo, I am the walrus. A surreal book or a book with surreal elements that you enjoyed. A book that I read last year was called Soulscape by Baraha Baruter. And I know it was weird. It has no... Well, I think there are some words, but it's almost exclusively weird imagery. And I remember that I'm the only person who has tracked that book on Goodreads, at least as of the last time I checked. It is a weird book, very surreal. Question number 5, The White Album. A book that you loved that either has a minimalist cover or is written in a minimalist style. Oh, wait, I have something. Here we go. Camus, he wrote minimalists. His writing style was minimalist. Something I can actually hold up for once. Good. I think it's starting to rain. No wonder the lighting is weird. All right, number 6, Little Darling. It's been a long, cold, lonely winter. Here comes the sun. Do-do-do. A book of poetry that you found uplifting. It is bold of you to assume that I read uplifting poetry. I read only depressing poetry. Well, no, actually, I just read a poem by Herman Melville that's about a shark. So that was fun. I don't know that it was uplifting, but it was fun. So that. And I have that book downstairs, but I'm too lazy to go downstairs and hold it up. So imagine that I'm holding that up. Question number 7, A Day in the Life. An experimental book that's very uncommon in its content or format, yet it still works well. And that is this book, Yajam, An Iraqi Rhapsody by Sinan Antoun. This is less experimental in English than it was in the original Arabic, but it's written in a style so that certain words are, it's unclear what the actual words are. So it's framed with two things of a Ministry of Security person reading a prisoner's memoir, and it's been written in this style so you don't know what the words are. And as I said, it doesn't completely replicate in English, but it is a really interesting style choice and experiment in stylistic choices. That's in a pile over there because I'm maybe giving that to my sister when she visits. Question number 8 is, over half of Americans who are 45 or older attribute the Beatles split to Yoko Ono. That just makes me think of the Bare Naked Lady song, You Could Be My Yoko Ono. Anyway, a book about a woman, or if you can't think of one, a man who is unjustly blamed or accused of something. I'm currently listening to the audio version of Asma Zehanat Khan's Among the Ruins, which I haven't finished listening to it, but it's in her it's one in her crime series, not her fantasy series. And it's about a woman who has been apparently murdered by the government in Iran, and it seems to be implied that it was for reasons other than what the official reasons would have been. So I think that's about a woman who's unjustly accused of something. But I haven't finished it, so who knows? Question number 9. Limitless, undying love which shines around me like a million suns and calls upon me across the... etc. across the universe. What's really weird is I think of the version of that not from the Beatles, but the one from that movie Across the Universe now, which is weird because I didn't even like that movie particularly. Anyway, a book that opened your mind and made you think about the universe in a new way, either physically or spiritually. Come on, you know I hate the spiritual. I'm getting head into the spiritual stuff. Well, I mean, physically. Well, I always say Jared Diamond's The Third Chimpanzee, which I read when I was a teenager, has always altered the way I thought about the natural world, because it's a collection of columns that he wrote for Discover magazine in the 80s and maybe early 90s, because when was it published? I think it was published in 93. But anyway, and it takes, it's essentially it's pop science versions of actual studies, but it's presented in a way that I think is really compelling and makes you think about not necessarily the whole universe, but the natural world on Earth. Number 10 is Mother Mary Comes to Me, Speaking Words of Wisdom, Let It Be. Or Let Her Be, if it's the Beatles, spelled like the bug with the Muppets from Sesame Street. Somebody tell me they recognize that reference. A book that you found very powerful and moving despite its apparent simplicity. Yeah, Chingiz Aymatov's Jamilia is very short and a very straightforward story, but I think has some really beautiful stuff about nature and people. So that. And look, I had something else to hold up. All right, that is the end of it. I took forever to do this, so I no longer remember who has done this, but I do want to shout out 3 people who have tagged me over the past year, and I haven't gotten around to doing the tags. So let me just mention them, and if you've done this, whatever, that's fine. I'm just mentioning this to say, hi, I know you tagged me. I will get to it. So Kathy Grimm from The Grimm Reader tagged me to do the effed up tag genuinely a year and a half ago, I think, and I haven't done it, so her. Courtney Ferreter tagged me to do the, what are you tag, and I haven't done that, and that was about a year ago. I'll do those tags eventually, probably, but in the meantime, shout out. Thanks to the guys from the Codex Cantina again for tagging me, and yeah, also, if you feel like doing this tag, and consider yourself tagged. Yeah, that's it for now. Ciao.